And how are we getting on, lads? Are you well? Because you're looking well. How are you getting on, Jeff?
I'm doing well, man. How are you doing?
I'm just dandy to be talking to you today. For anyone who might not know you, a few who may not know you, how about you introduce yourself?
Sure, sure. My name is Jeff Schine, and occasionally I am the voice in your head, especially if you're playing a console or a PC.
Yeah. People with particular mental issues that might have sounded a bit mental.
Yeah,
Um,
or it might have been very comforting.
there you go. But yeah, man, you play a variety of characters, and you just kind of seem to be on a, I don't know what you call it, just a streak at the moment. The last 3 years, I've seen your stuff, and it's been carnage, job after
Yeah,
job, carnage.
I love that. I love that description, man. Carnage. I'm gonna coin that. That's great.
There you go.
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess it has felt a little bit like Carnage, like a beautiful mess. I guess if that's a good way to put it. Um, it's been a hell of a ride so far. I say so far because I don't feel even close to being done, but it's been great so far.
Well, fair play to you. Like you seriously got them names under there. And I
Thank
was
you.
saying to Thomas before we got on, like we talked to a fuck ton of voice actors. I love this. You can curse, by the way.
Is that a technical term?
Yes, in the
Yeah,
industry.
yeah. Got it. That's
Um,
what I thought. It sounded so familiar that
there you go. But we talked so many of his, but like looking at your, I guess credentials. You're just flaming it. I was saying to Thomas beforehand that if you go at the pace you're going at the moment, you keep at that, you're up there with the likes of Troy Baker. Like you're seriously you're going strong.
I take that as a tremendous compliment. Troy is actually a good friend of mine and a hell of a human being and a hell of an actor. And to be in the same conversation as a guy like that, both from a professional perspective and then just on a personal level, um, that's just it's a huge compliment. And I feel very grateful to be sharing company with people like that.
Well, there you
Well,
go.
that
It looks like you've earned it.
absolutely deserve it. I mean, last couple of games you've
Thank
been
you.
in the last couple of years, you've been amazing in them. And the range is there as well. You go from the Star Spangled Man to Chris Redfield. That's amazing.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun. It really has. It's been. I mean, I feel really fortunate because I get to do something that I love, and and occasionally someone pays me to do it. So it feels really gratifying to get to do that. And then from a different perspective, being a dad now, I get to sort of be an actual example to my kid about doing what you love and following your dreams and taking a risk, and there's no guarantees, and I think I try to keep that acutely in my mind, so no matter how many roles I do that feel really like big deals or big franchises, I always remember, like, you're guaranteed nothing, so you got to stay hungry.
I like the way you put that. You got to stay hungry. Um,
Yeah.
so I suppose tell us where hunger all began. What was your start to voice acting or acting as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a passion before it was an intention. Do you know what I mean? Like I grew up, just glued to things like, I mean, as a kid, and I mean glued to like Sesame Street, anything motion picture. I mean, I was weeping genuinely when my mom would have to shut it off. Um, and growing up, like Saturday morning cartoons, loved, and when you're a kid, cartoons aren't cartoons with actors doing voices. Those cartoon characters speak, and they might as well just be real. Um, and then shortly after that, I remember being like whatever 10, 11, 12, trying to create a list of every movie I'd ever seen, and already by that age, it was somewhere around 800 or 900 films. I was really into it, but it never dawned on me. I don't think until much later. And I'll give you like sort of the truncated version of it. Is it just didn't dawn on me that that was a thing you could like do. That was something other people did, and those people that I saw on TV seemed other than. Um, and then I guess it was right around, I did plays in middle school and elementary school, but it was just fun as a hobby. I didn't think anything of it. And then it wasn't around till about junior or senior year, actually in high school, that I sort of connected the dots. Like this was a thing you could do, and it really interested me in doing that. So um, after high school, I started taking it seriously. Did some community theater in Connecticut, and then went to college, studied film and television at Hofstra University, graduated in 3 years, came back home for a year, bartended, saved up some money, and then just packed a bag and went out to Los Angeles. And I've been there for about 17 years since.
Dude, the amount of people who would want to do that, just pack the bag and go.
I mean, my mom will regale you the story at some point because she was coming home from the grocery store and had an armful of groceries, and I was sitting in the driveway with a buddy of mine, and not even like he wasn't a guy that I knew very well, but we'd gone to school together and we're in sort of like nearby circles. Yeah, he was in the film department. He was a couple years younger than me, but I heard through the grapevine he was thinking about moving to LA, so we just kind of hooked up, and she pulled up to the driveway, unpacked the car, and as she's walking in the house, I went, "Hey, I'm moving to Los Angeles," and like 2 weeks later, I was gone. I'm very grateful. I say that very cavalierly, but I was very lucky to grow up with two parents who were unwaveringly supportive of whatever harebrained thing I wanted to do at the time.
I mean, like you need that. We've talked to enough actors who had the complete opposite of that. So it's good to hear a happy story.
Yeah, yeah. I'm acutely aware of how many people have the opposite experience in whatever they're talking about. Just like the sort of a missing support system. Um, And so I feel like I came from some good example, and I hope I can obviously continue to do that for my kid. But it's important, man. I mean, I think you know, it's funny how we try to coach other people how to live their lives, and there's just no way to know what's right for somebody else other than like listening. So I'm glad my parents listened and didn't try to speak for me.
Fair play to them. And as having a kid, changed the way you look at this whole industry.
Everything. It is like it is the I don't know. Do either of you guys have kids?
Yeah,
No,
19.
What did you say? What did you say? You're 19?
We're about 19, yeah.
yeah,
No shit, really?
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Jay's 20
It's
and
not gray hair; it's just a bad camera.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a bad camera. I thought it was a good cut. Um,
There you go.
no, but so I will just tell you, like, and I'll speak super candidly. I think it's important because I don't remember having enough of these conversations when I was growing up. But like, you get a lot of pressure. This is what you're supposed to do. When are you? And the only people don't even ask if you want. They just go, "When are you having kids? When are you having kids?" And I remember spending my entire life up until my mid 30s going, "It's never going to do it. I don't want it. I have no interest in it. It's not for me." Um, and and then I'll tell you, being on the other side of it, it's the single best thing I've ever done. There's nothing more monumentally perspective shifting, and especially coming from an industry where we're so and I don't even mean this disparagingly, but we're just so self-centered. Everything is about us, and in many ways, it has to be because you come out here and there's no real linear path to success. You are sort of in charge of your business, if you want to call it that, which is you, and you got to do it all yourself. And you find a network of people who hopefully bolster you up, but it's very quickly that your world becomes incredibly myopic, and it's all about you, and nothing takes your perspective and shifts the paradigm where you're no longer focused on you. It's everything's about somebody else. And for me, that was both jarring and completely liberating. So um, it's definitely changed the way I look at the business for sure.
And I suppose life as a whole.
Everything,
Yeah. I
everything, man.
obviously being just about to hit fucking 20. I can't imagine how crazy that is. You know.
Yeah. You know what the
Well,
cool thing is about being like 19 though and 20, and I feel like people also need to say this stuff more, is like I just remember at the time, I don't know if you guys are experiencing this, but it's always like a future questions. What's next? What's future? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna be? Dude, who gives a shit? Do now. Just do like whatever you want to do now. There's so much time. Like if you really think about our lives, and I don't want to get like soapboxy and start preaching anything like that, but
we
if you
we
think
we
about it,
can do that if you want.
listen, I'll follow your lead, but just be careful because we can go real far. But I think my point is just like, for 17, 18 years, like it's almost not even like your life. You're all just developing, right? Like now, like it's just starting. So you got all the time in the world. Now is the time you should like make mistakes, fuck up, try things, not know what you want to do, try a little bit of everything. The best thing, if I could be so bold to give you guys advice, and you guys seem like good dudes, like I can feel you like your vibe already, even just from the intro, I would say like embrace the notion that most people don't, which is the fine art of changing your mind. We get locked into these like prisons and ideas that we make for ourselves because one Monday you woke up and said, I want to be a professional whatever. I want to be a professional podcaster. If you wake up on Wednesday and go, I don't want to fucking do that anymore, then don't. You're never handcuffed to anything. And now I'll stop.
That's some solid advice, man. Appreciate that. And
I mean,
you know what?
no, in fairness,
I'm gonna take it right now. Good, I'm done.
Interview's over. Get the fuck out of here.
in fairness, I was going to say that's bad advice for consistency. Like, there's going to be days you don't want to do it, but if you gave up, like there, go on. But I get your point that you're not bound to anything.
The difference between your ego saying I don't want to do this today because I'm tired, or what, the excuse voice, or the heart which says like this isn't really for me anymore.
Yeah.
There's a difference, and you'll know. I can tell you guys are bright lads.
Sound, you're sound lad.
I'd say you're one of the first guests to ever actually say that to us. No.
Yeah.
No, we.
What's up with your other? What's up with your other
the whole
guests?
time. What are you talking about?
We got some fracking guests. We got some amazing people, much like yourself. But besides blowing smoke up each other's asses, so going on back to Resident Evil, you know, it's very rare when you play one character in some kind of universe and then they call you on to do another one.
Yeah.
But funny enough, with yourself and Nicole, for Resident Evil 3, they decided they wanted to pair you back for Village.
Yeah.
What was that like being called on to play Chris Redfield? A bit of a fan favorite as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say at first. I mean, I had a couple different feelings at the time. I remember when Steve, I read for it, then I remember talking to Steve as we were getting close to sort of the end of the audition process, and we were pretty transparent, and I remember simultaneously feeling incredibly, honored that Capcom and both Steve, the director, were had enough faith in me to bring me back into the franchise so quickly to play such an important character after playing a character that was lesser known but became sort of like really well received and more noticeable. I really was grateful that they had so much faith in me. I was definitely nervous a little bit at first, and I had to think about it, because I didn't want to be a distraction. Do you know what I mean? And But, I really felt like these guys are super, super different characters. They just happen to exist in the same world, but, they're so different energetically that I was really excited at the opportunity to, I mean, obviously get to play somebody like Chris Redfield, and obviously get a chance to, give him a voice following some other tremendous actors who have voiced him in the past. So, I felt like I was in good company, and I was getting him coming out of some really great hands. So, I was excited and felt up for the challenge.
Well, you did a good job, in fairness. And
Thank you.
one thing I probably never heard this before. When I look at your performance as Captain America, and I
Mm.
look at your performance as Chris Redfield, I can kind of see a link. Like if Captain America went on a dodgy spree and became a bad lad, he would be Chris Redfield in my eyes.
I could see, I could definitely see a universe where, Chris Redfield is the alter ego of Cap in some ways. Definitely in some ways. I mean, energetically, those guys share some similar spaces and then dovetail in other ones. Um, but also, we're picking up Chris, I think, in Village at a particularly dark time. And what I thought was kind of cool doing, after coming from Avengers and then doing Village, both those guys throughout the course of each one of their respective stories are forced to make really difficult choices, which I think as an actor is always like a really interesting thing to make when you're like, when you're playing a character who is back against the wall and has to make an unpopular choice, as it were. Um, so yeah, I mean, in those ways, I think those two are similar.
Yeah. Well, either way, they were both brilliant performances. But when it came to doing like the mocap for, you did mocap for Chris, right?
Yeah.
When it came to that, what was that like when you were finally like in person? Was this before or after the pandemic hit?
So we began. Now I'm notoriously terrible about timing, but okay. So we began filming just prior to the pandemic. Then the pandemic hit. We did some stuff remotely for voice. Once we were a little bit into the pandemic, we were able to get a couple sessions on the volume, under a tremendous amount of restriction, and it was definitely a different process for sure, everyone was still kind of feeling it out. And then we actually completed all of our work, if I remember correctly, somewhere in that year, and then they obviously finished everything out. So um, yeah, but I mean, a great process. I mean, I love being on the volume. The volume is one of my favorite places to be.
Just your are you in your like home studio right now? Because it is beautiful looking, man.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, so my wife and I are temporarily relocated. We live in Los Angeles, but when she was about 36 weeks pregnant, we moved to Atlanta because she works on a show, and we didn't know we were going back, and then their season got picked up, so we've been here for a while, and so I'm back and forth to LA and Atlanta. But yeah, but this is Studio Bricks. Shout out to Studio Bricks. I love their stuff.
Not too bad. It's looking well, in fairness to you.
Thanks. Yeah, it's good. It's all like foam and stuff. It's cool, and it goes together like Legos. So they put up and tear down pretty quick. But they're phenomenal. I love their stuff,
Handy. I suppose I have to get something for here at some point. But
dude. Or or the jam is you got to just soundproof the whole room, and then you can throw like acoustic foam up on it. But you guys sound pretty good.
spot
What
on.
mic are you on right now? Just out of curiosity.
Garbage.
Garbage.
I'm using
Sounds like
a toner mic.
Using the
sounds like hot garbage, man. It's good.
I think it's Q9. I don't know, man.
Yeah, we're both on the toner, but with mine, the
Toner.
graphics card has this thing in it, so like it'll noise suppress. It's RTX noise suppression, so
Oh,
it's
nice.
handy enough.
I don't know anything about that, so mine just works properly.
Listen, working properly is like 90% of the thing anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly, man. Better than our old mics that used to constantly buzz during podcasts where we had to
Yours,
actually like.
your old mic.
Oh, yeah, okay, mine. We
Can
have
I-
to
can I-
stop it every 5 minutes.
Do you
Yeah.
mind if I ask? I'm just so curious. Do I have to ask how you guys know each other? Like how you guys met, or how this whole thing got kicked off?
Yeah, go on. School. Know each other from school.
School.
Our final exams got cancelled for because of COVID, so we didn't have any idea what was going to happen. I said one day I want to do a podcast, and how much is available, and we just started. We did 140 episodes in 140 days, and now we have 224. You're 225 today.
I'm 225.
There you are.
Dude, man, that number. I like that number. It appeals to the brain part of me. It's
Yeah.
nice and round. I like it. That's cool. That's awesome, guys. That's exactly what I was talking about before. I like people who just decide and do.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's a good habit for some people, and for some it's awful.
Yeah.
Like if you went to heroin, that would be a terrible idea.
Go shut up, man.
Not as great of a habit to get into.
But like, we decided we were gonna do a podcast on the same day that we recorded our first episode. It was like,
Yeah.
and then in the middle of that, it was like 3 hours picking out what our name was gonna be. So,
Yeah, recorded
So
without
you
a
guys
name.
Really? I
Mhm.
like the name, by the way.
Yeah,
It's
it's
'cause we're-
actually because we're from a place called Offaly, spelled differently now. It's like Offaly, and so we were gonna call ourselves the Offaly Irish Podcast, but one of the guys was like, "Nah, man, I don't want to be associated living here." So it's like, all right, we'll just call ourselves the Offaly.
Is it a
Podcast.
small town?
It's
It's more like
it's not a
province.
town, it's a county.
Yeah.
But it's
Interesting.
tiny compared to what U.S. counties would be.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Like,
Really? You guys
yeah.
ever see and I know it's totally off topic, but I talk about this show a lot. But you ever watch this show on Hulu? It's a Canadian show called Letterkenny.
I've heard of Letterkenny. I know where it's
Give it a-
filmed.
Heard of Letterkenny
Give it
before,
a
yeah.
give it a watch when you get a chance. It's phenomenal. But I feel like anybody that comes from sort of that what feels like smaller town living will find some parts of it that they relate to. So give it a shot. I think you guys will like it.
I found that feeling in the Hardy books. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys.
Am I familiar? I think I read every single one of them as a kid twice.
Read the Hardy books.
Maybe I'm talking about. So I thought you were talking about the Hardy Boys. The Hardy Boys
Oh,
books.
not the Hardy. No.
No, the Hardy books. There's a
I
TV
went to
show
Hardy
and a
Boys.
movie.
TV show.
I thought you
So
were
what-
clowning for a second. I thought you were making a joke.
See, and I was getting all nostalgic, feeling really good that you knew what the fucking Hardy Boys were.
Yeah, no, they're a bunch of comedians around here, and
Oh, really?
basically just summed up, country Ireland. But yeah, it's interesting you asked that because normally we're asking the questions, but yeah, it's been like yourself and a couple others have kind of like shocked us, and we get a good flow going.
Good.
Yeah,
Who was the other one?
It was a Kilgallen who knew who the Hardy books were, man.
Joe Kilgallen, yeah, but no,
Joe
it's
Kilgallen.
not even just knowing the Hardy books. Like there's There's been plenty. It was who was the guy? Yes, someone like even in the last week asked us how we started. I think we getting like crazy. He was in the game as well. He was a
Yeah,
brilliant lad to
Aaron,
talk to. It was Aaron LaPlante. Yeah,
Aaron the Punch.
we
Yeah,
just
yeah,
had him
he,
on.
Oh yeah,
yeah. We were talking
yeah,
to
Yeah,
Aaron yesterday. Actually, he's
right
a
on.
really cool
Oh,
dude.
that's
Love
cool.
him. Yeah.
yeah. The cast of Resident Evil. You seem to be like a close bunch. No, unfortunately, he wasn't there to do all like the mocap because it's hard to mocap for a guy who's as big as the Duke. But
Yeah, yeah.
it seems like you're a close bunch.
You know, every once in a while you get to jump on some projects. I mean, I always feel like there's always a usually on a project there's always like a couple people you kind of take with you. You know, most of the time on the sets, at least my experience has always been, I've always had good experiences on set, sort of top to bottom. But then usually there's one or two you kind of carry with you. I mean, I could definitely say coming off of three, Nicole and Neil and I and Steve all got really tight and really close. Um, and I didn't get to work as much with many of the cast of Village just because we were so segmented. I mean, I worked with Todd a lot, obviously, but because of COVID and then the scheduling beforehand was a little bit more fragmented. Um, but all in all, like great groups of people, like just good attitudes all the way around, not a lot of ego, and I couldn't say enough nice things about them. So yeah, man, it's that part of it always makes it more gratifying when you feel, when you like and feel close to the cast.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. But every single member of that cast, they're going places. Like, I haven't spoken to so many of them. They're going places. Like, I can already see, because we have a habit of when a game comes out, we'll ask them to get on. Like, I already
Sure,
know, we're probably going to book Aaron again at some point. Probably going to get
sure, yeah.
Nicole on again at some point. Probably yourself because you're so prolific in your work.
Anytime you want.
Appreciate
Um,
it. But
yeah, and I agree with you. I think there's bright futures. I mean, I hope for all of us for a long time. Um, I again, I completely agree with you. I think it's a good group of people. I think there's a lot of talent, and I find the voiceover community as a whole a pretty warm and receptive and supportive group. I remember first starting out and getting some advice and coaching and coffees with people that at the time felt like I have no business being having a casual conversation with this guy. This guy's like a legend, like a legend. It would be like it's like the equivalent of like being an actor for the first time on like a film and Tom Cruise being like, hey, you want to grab a cup of coffee? Like it doesn't. But the voiceover community is just so different, man. It's just such a different vibe, and I really appreciate that.
I'm glad to hear it. Because I suppose with being a voice actor comes a humbleness, because your face isn't on camera. People have to manually try to find out who you are.
I think there's that. I mean, I think some of the things. I mean, so because I do both, there's things about each one that I appreciate and enjoy. I think that I think lots of actors end up really enjoying the anonymity of voice acting. You know what I mean? There's a certain freedom in it because you could be standing next to like some of the most prolific voices in the industry. And unless you were somebody kind of like you fellas who were really interested in knowing who these people were, you might never know. Like you would never know. And I think a lot of those guys and gals really enjoy the anonymity of it because you get to do all these amazing projects, but you can still go like out to dinner with your wife or your husband or and be pretty chill about it. So believe me, I'm not at that point. Nobody gives a shit when I go to a restaurant, so it's all right for me.
But have you
After
had
that,
someone like that? Or go on, Thomas.
no, no, after you.
Have you had that like kind of fan interaction? You just maybe at the grocery store or something, and someone recognizes you.
Um, truthfully, it happens way more to my wife than it does to me. It's only happened maybe once or twice, and the funniest, I'll tell you the best one. I used to go to this sushi shop near my house in Los Angeles all the time, and there was always this a gal and a guy behind the counter, younger, and I did this one voice for this random mobile game, like that I forgot that I'd even worked on, and from my name on the credit card slip. The next time I came in, they pulled the game up and they were like, "Oh, you do the voice for this?" And I was like, "I don't even remember working on that, but yeah." So that was you never get recognized for the stuff you think you will. It's always the thing that you're like, I can't believe you know that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's actually pretty weird. The
Yeah,
mobile
it
app.
was
Like, how did we
it was
find
a
out it's
super.
you?
It was it's a weird like it was a very weird Japanese like fighting game where the food fights or something like that. I don't know.
It's not
But that
Resident
was the
Evil.
game, not
Maybe it
Resident
would be
Evil.
your big break. I mean, look
You know
at
what
you
I
now,
mean?
man.
Right?
Now
From
you're
a
doing,
food fighting app.
Chinese food fighting games. You're doing, you're all over the world, man.
I'm international.
Yeah, you're doing Italian, Spanish. Who knows what's next for you, man?
What was your question there, Thomas?
But no, it wasn't even a question. I was about to say that it's something that Aaron said he appreciated, that people don't come up to him because he enjoys his privacy, and he says he enjoys doing acting and working the entertainment business, but he doesn't want people coming up to him. So that's why he said he really enjoys doing voice acting.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that. The one aspect of it that I do miss though, the interaction part of it is I do miss getting a chance to go to cons and things like that. I enjoy that dynamic very much, and it's been interesting to try to fill that space with with those sort of online interactions. Since we've all been in lockdown, um, but cons and things like that have always been they're always a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've always dodged those. In fairness,
Really?
and only when we started talking to voice actors on, oh, have I had an interest in going? Might give one a go at
Yeah,
some
yeah.
point.
Mm.
It's funny. Pretty notoriously, I dodge. I I'm not that interested in going unless I'm invited to go. It's just a different experience. And I'm not great in crowds. I just get overwhelmed easily, and
That's fair.
not like anything like it just energetically like it's just a lot, and so like I burn out pretty quick. I'm like, I'm done. So it's better like because I've gone a couple of times prior to like voicing anything to like E3, but
Mm.
man, it's just wall to wall and elbow to elbow people, and I get just burnt out pretty quick.
Doesn't sound that nice, to be
I, I
honest
can
with
I can get that. Yeah,
you.
Yeah.
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 Are you much of a gamer, man? Do you play much games, or you kind of solely focusing on voice acting at the moment?
So the question is, how deep down this rabbit hole do you want to go?
Oh, I want to go deep. Let's go
Because
deep.
the answer is I've been a gamer since I was old enough to hold a controller, and I love games. I'm passionate about games. If I'm lucky tonight, I will help my wife with some of her work. I'll put my kid to bed, and I'll be able to squeeze out a couple rounds of Warzone before I go to bed.
Good man yourself. Good man yourself.
Excellent,
You know,
man.
So yeah, I love games, man.
So,
I love being able to just kind of drop into a universe for a little bit, and especially from someone who's come from Nintendo and all the way now to the Series X and the PS5 and where PCs have gone. I mean, just and the difference in the storytelling from when I was a kid, I can really appreciate the evolution.
that's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair, dude. That's fucking awesome. Especially because you're
Yeah,
bit in these COD games as well.
yeah, it's fun. I'm such a dick because when I play with my buddies, I always play as my character, and I'll intentionally mark stuff on the map so they have to keep listening to me.
There you go. There you go.
It's such a jerk move, but
But
it's
you're
fun.
the only fucker who can do it.
You know
Yeah,
exactly. They can so they're stuck. There's nothing they can do about it.
good
I
man,
forced them.
dude. That's so cool. Yeah,
Thanks, thanks,
yeah.
man. It's a good time. What are
And
you guys playing at the moment? Just out of curiosity.
nothing.
Nothing.
No, I stopped.
Too much
Sum it
work.
up, man. He's taking off the gloves of the controller. You
Really?
disappointment, man. He's too busy working on this podcast that he won't hop
Y-
on Warzone with me.
In fairness, Thomas, how
You're
long
a
has it been since
disgrace.
since I hopped on Warzone?
Oh man, I'd say about Christmas.
Yeah, technical issues, but we were just talking about Warzone.
Mm.
Jeff's a bit of an addict. Fair play to him. We're trying to get him some help.
I could throw some advice your way. Uh, the only way to pad your numbers is to just play more.
There you go. And like you were saying, like it's a deep rabbit hole. This one. I
Yeah.
mean, do you stream this stuff? Like, I'm not really following your social media as much, but like,
No. No. I'm not a. I mean, I like social media, and I try to maintain a healthy relationship with it. Admittedly, like I'm not. I mean, if you look at my Instagram, it's not great. I don't do a tremendous amount of posting, and I just don't. It's just that it's not a space I'm comfortable in, but don't have an issue with. But no, streaming isn't really my lane. I'm happy to get invited to people's streams and jump on with them a little bit. I mean, I've joined Nicole a number of times, and she's done a masterful job of sort of creating an environment and a channel
Yeah,
for
she's
herself
she's doing a
there.
good job.
Yeah, she really is. And that's all, you know what I mean? And much like you guys, it's just, you build it yourself. You grind it out, you crank out episodes, you stream and do it yourself. And it's not easy for anybody that thinks it looks easy, but it's just not for me a place to put time and investment. I'm spread pretty thin as it is. So, um, yeah, not my jam.
That's
Yeah,
fair enough, man. I mean, you know, just because you like video games, and nowadays everyone thinks, oh, so you're a streamer. Like,
Well, and it's interesting. It's in that same vein that we were kind of talking about before. I think, especially as actors, also when you first start out, you get this sort of bug in your ear, like you got to be a jack of all trades. And I realized pretty early, like I was really uncomfortable with that notion. I remember when I first started, my manager was like, you got to do on camera and you got to do commercial and you got to be hosting if there's an opportunity to host and all that. I'm just like, yeah, but like I'm not a host. Like, why are we going to try to keep cramming this round peg in a square hole? Like, and it was very liberating to get to the place where I was like, these are the things. Look, as important as it is, the things you say yes to, and people will tell you that, say yes, but it's just as important the things you say no to, and know what you like and say no to the things you don't want to do. And there's a lot of freedom in that.
yeah, yeah. You're way better off. We've had people on who do everything, and it has been a nightmare. Or people would
Yeah.
even give advice to say to do everything. But I like the way like your perspective on it. Just be an expert in the one, because I don't see you doing any on camera work like anytime soon. But I see you doing like 10 different voice acting gigs this year. You know.
I hope so, man. Yeah, I'll take it.
But hey, if we get you in a Wheaties commercial one day, it'll be cool. And
It's
all
gonna be on a Wheaties, but it's gonna be on a Wheaties box.
there you go. It's your picture, your face with like a spoon or something. Uh,
Yeah.
face of Wheaties, man. I like it.
there you go.
I'm enjoying it.
And
Buy more of them.
how comfortable are you with like doing commercials or TV or movies, whatever? Because you have a fuck up. You've done a couple of them, like.
Yeah, I mean, TV and film is where I started, so that for me is an incredibly comfortable space. Admittedly, I'm not as comfortable with commercial work unless it's a very particular kind, because I'm not a. They call it the bite and smile is like a pretty standard. I just never felt like super comfortable in like that kind of commercial stuff. But yeah, but film and TV is it rivals. I would say that's probably my first love, and games came second. But the thing that I like about doing voices and mocap for games is that it scratches the itch for film and television, because there's virtually no difference being on the volume than it being on a film set, with the exception that you're not in costume, um, you're in a suit, and the cameras, instead of being out there, even though there are some capturing like larger portions of the action, the cameras are just attached to your face, and then everything else is identical. And in some ways, games are even more fun because generally speaking, you get longer takes of everything. So you got to do a scene, it's got to roll clean top to bottom. There's no picking up in the middle because the data doesn't work that way. So, if you got a 12-page scene and they want to get it front to back, you're putting on a play for the afternoon. And there's no, you know what I mean? Everyone's got to hit it right. And that is always super fun to play in a space like that. Films can sometimes be tiny, tiny little chunks, do one line, then we turn the camera, then we go for a wide, then we come in close. And, it just depends. But so they share more similarities than I think people realize.
Yeah, and I feel like it's more professional when you're doing the kind of work you'd be at. Because when I've been
Mm,
on TV sets and I've seen TV actors do their bit, at least from what I've seen, it's almost childlike. I respect what they do, and there's some amazing shows out there. And just in comparison, and from what I've seen, I'm not going to name drop, but like they did basically like a forward each scene in an
hmm
argument, and then they switched cameras. But in the time it took them to do that, it was only like a 5 minute process of changing the angle, whatever, moving around the extras, whatever, and they actors were just handed the script again. All right, they go again. Maybe 20 words between them, and continued the argument. And I was there for nearly a whole day, and we got a nice little argument done. So maybe
Yeah.
that's inefficiency on Irish companies, but you know,
Yeah, I don't know about the efficiency of Irish television, but the TV and film process as a whole can sometimes be very arduous and very time consuming, and you can have long days where you don't accomplish very much.
yeah. And that I've been on somewhere that they've shot like multiple battle scenes and just been happy with it done. One take, we're done.
Depend
Can't afford to do a
depend.
second time.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's certainly the truth. Especially we're. I mean, the good thing is about the sets on a mocap stage is they're all virtual. So you know what I mean. We can blow up as many things as we want, as many days as we want to do it, and it doesn't cost us a dime.
I mean, literally that. Like how many times can you pay the stunt guy to set himself on fire for that scene? You know?
Yeah. Well, it's cool too because a lot of there are some very active and very talented, and they usually cross over from film and TV to the games. But stunt work is big, especially on the mocap stage. We do lots of pulley stuff and lots of fight stuff, and sometimes it is absolutely it's absolutely in our best interest to have a stunt team come in and do a fight choreography or um, even though we're just capturing virtual data, it's way better for them to come in and do it. So there's lots of super talented stunt men and women who jump on the mocap stage.
Yeah.
We've
Oh, it's brilliant.
we've talked to a couple of stunt people, and they just seem like the most badass people alive, man. We had
Like
a guy who
You,
like
ninjas.
we had a guy on John Davis who like beat paralysis, like he beat it and then went on to like choreograph sword fights for hundreds of shows, and then
yeah,
Keanu Lam has gotten every limb taken off him in Deadpool. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if
Stunt guys are cool. Generally, I think you find a lot of times with people who work at a high level um, in those kinds of physical things, whether they're fighters or whether they're stuntmen or whether they're I just feel like you know when you're operating at such a high octane, the volume on everything else is turned down. And so, they're usually a lot more laid back, very little to prove. When you know sort of in your bones that you can do the thing, you don't really have to be the guy or gal shouting at the top of your lungs that you can, you know?
yeah, for they're just amazing people. And it's like
Yeah,
like what Thomas
yeah,
was saying with Keanu there. I don't know if you remember Deadpool 2 very well, but
yeah.
in the opening scene, some guy gets turned into like I don't know what you call it. He just has no arms, no legs after because of Deadpool, and
Mm,
he says you got to play that, and then they had to play dead after. And so like some of the lads are trying to make each other laugh when they're on the ground, and you wouldn't want to be the person who actually laughs, like because
no.
yeah, the whole thing started over, but. They do some cool stuff, and I've spoken to lads moments after they've been set on fire, and they just like, oh, we'll do it again.
Yeah, doing a burn is a interesting thing to get to watch. I've been on a couple sets where they lit somebody on fire, but it's a you know
Scary.
it's a serious moment when that's happening. I did a series based on the video game Battlefield actually, and we shot that out in Detroit, and we did a live burn, and I remember sitting there watching this thing. I wanted to be on set that day to watch this thing go down. It's serious, man. There's just a lot that can go wrong. It's very risky. I give a lot of credit to the men and women who do these things. It's not an easy job.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of like I don't know backing if they have a complaint. Like it's either that or we'll find someone else. And even if they get like minor injuries, I know a fair few lads personally who wouldn't bring it up just for the sake of having the job the next day.
I always, for sure, that's the mentality of people, and I get that, and I feel that way sometimes. It's something that I try to remember as I enter a job when I do any job, which is I try to always remember there are 100 other dudes who would do this thing if I wasn't doing it, and probably just as many who could, right? Like I guess what I'm saying is like I never try to think of like I never try to think that I'm too precious. You know, it keeps a good perspective because there's someone right behind you hungry and who doesn't care that it's raining or cold or they got to get up at 3 a.m. They don't give a shit. They'll be there. So I'd rather be that guy, um, especially if I get the chance to, you know.
What did
Yeah,
Kevin tell us, Jared? He said that that he was on set one day and he had to do like he was supposed to be set on fire and he said he was getting a kind of like a little bit nervous. I think it was his first one. Then he looked behind him and he noticed that there was three people like that kind of looked like him also ready to be set on fire. So he thought, yeah, I'm getting fucking paid. So
yeah.
I absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I've been on both sides of the coin where, like, you know, look, yeah, I understand and I agree. And there's somebody always wants your job, and there's always somebody just as good who can do it. And it's sometimes it's just a flip of a coin, you know. That day went your way. So if you get the opportunity to step up and do it and
But like,
enjoy it. Be grateful.
dude, you're that dude right now. You're lighting the fire underneath people. You know, you like the work you put out in five. I'm fucking. I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass. All right,
I know.
I'm just saying, like the last 5 years, your work, it keeps getting bigger and better. Like,
No, thank you, man.
dude, could you imagine this conversation 5 years from now?
Uh,
Like,
five
huge.
5 years from now, yeah. I mean, let's mark this date in the calendar, and 5 years from now, let's sit down again and do an evaluation. I hope it continues like this. I hope it continues like this for both myself and for you guys, so we can have a really nice 5 year reunion where we're all three looking back, going, remember when?
There you
you
go.
know, we'll invite you to our mansion. You come to ours, man. It's like
Oh, it'll be
whatever.
great
We'll
crack.
see.
Joe
We'll
Rogan's
see
gonna be
what's
there.
happening.
He'll be
That
asking us
sounds
for
good.
podcast tips. It'll be brilliant.
Oh shit!
Brilliant.
If you guys are buddies with Joe Rogan, then you're in a great place.
Hey, we're already buddies with him, but like he likes to pretend this game. He likes to play this game where we don't exist. It's like he's a funny
Shut
guy,
up.
comedian.
That's a dynamic you guys got going on. That's a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
game.
He's funny comedian.
Yeah.
Having had so many people on the show, it's kind of interesting the way I look at fame these days. Like,
Mm,
who might be like the biggest person in Call of Duty right now might mean jack shit to someone's grandma, and that
totally.
so someone's grandma, they could have some kind of other actor being up there as like their number one. Like, there's no besides like maybe The Rock, Tom Cruise. There's no like peak famous people really. Anyone can, I don't know, have their little market. It's more niche fame these days.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, right? Because it's very different the way, you know, fame used to be exclusive to at least, the way it seemed, if you really want to take like a super bird's eye, unless you were sort of a movie star, then what was really fame? But now you could be famous for for your TikTok account and have, 30 times the followers that I have. I mean, I'm not that, you know what I mean? Like, you could be famous for anything. So I think that's why you just gotta, like, forget about all that. Forget about all the fame and the bullshit and just like, and just if you love what you do, it'll resonate. If it's real, if it's authentic, if you genuinely enjoy it and love it, people pick up on it because eventually everybody sniffs out bullshit.
Yeah, if
Eventually,
it's fake, yeah.
fake doesn't last long. It just can't. It just can't hold up to the test, of time, and people know.
And I don't know what would you call it? Is it imposter syndrome, where you feel like you're kind of like above your pay grade? You ever had that kind of feeling?
Well, I think I know what you mean. Like the feeling of um, like, do I really belong here? Like, does this make
Yeah, like
sense?
you're saying, like some people like they can smell fake. I'm not implying that. I'm saying, like, have you ever felt that? What am I asking?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like you feel yeah. I think I know what you mean. Like you feel almost phony.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
right way of saying that. There's a saying for it. It's blanking right now.
No, no, you're right. It is imposter syndrome. Neither one of us are defining it particularly well, but I know what you mean. Like, there's definitely moments where I get asked for an interview, and I kind of like, you, me? Like, why? Why would you want to talk to me? Um, but I always, but I always think I try to couch it into like if it's important to somebody else, you know, if anything I've done resonates in that way, then I'm always happy to share that with somebody, and it's cool. I like to be able to talk about things like this. It's you get to meet interesting people.
Yeah,
How else would we have ever have met?
there you go. I ask because the caliber of what you do. Like, dude, if you took me, I don't know how, like, at my peak confidence or whatever, and you say, "How are you getting on, Jer?" You do a couple of voices for Call of Duty. I shit my fucking pants. Never mind you doing it like what 3 4 times. Like that must be intimidating sometimes. Resident Evil, like that game's been around since God was a boy. It's unreal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't I understand what you're saying. I totally get it. I mean, I think we all have our lanes of where we're comfortable, and we all have the capacity to shut certain switches off when we need to. Like, if you told me I needed to do an interview show, I'd shit my pants. That wouldn't be a space where I'd feel comfortable particularly. It takes some time to like, but you exist in a world long enough. You do 224 episodes of a show. You spend enough time behind the microphone, and you just start to understand from a humility your limitations, your gifts, the things that you can contribute and the places where you can't, and you lean into the ones you can, and you don't try to be more than you are. And then I think then you're in a place where somebody could say to you, hey, you're going to interview Joe Rogan tomorrow, and you might go, okay, like, we're ready for that, we could do that. And someone might say to me, like, hey, you're going to voice Captain America tomorrow, and you go, you have your moment where you step up to the ledge and you go, but then you step forward and you go and you do it, because you have enough faith in the experience behind you that you will figure it the fuck out.
Yeah, yeah. That you nailed it in one. So you did. You nailed it in one. I, you just kind of need to brace yourself there. But like even with
Yeah.
talking to yourself today, like I was like, Jesus, Jeff Shine, that's a good catch. I got
I'm
a bit worried for that, but then like, having talked, dude, like from the gate, it's been good so far.
That's been lovely.
Yeah, but look at you guys. You're like consummate professionals. Like, I would have had no idea, right? And that's the trick, right? You take all that stuff and you're like a duck on a pond. You push it down and you're kicking like crazy under the water, but on the surface, calm as can be.
That's a good saying, like a duck in a
Yeah,
pond.
duck on a pond.
That I need to write that down real quick.
I like that.
Yeah, man.
That's seriously good.
Duck on a pond shit.
Yeah, there you go. But I suppose, look, you're a busy guy. You got a kid there, so we're probably gonna have to let you go soon. So I suppose to finish off, I'd be committed crime basically if I didn't bring up The Walking Dead, because all the
Mm.
Walking Dead fans out there. So what was it like getting involved in that game? Because it looks to have been like a pretty intensive game. Was there mocap for it? Was it just voice acting? What happened?
Yeah, we just did voice. But I love that project, right? I loved the opportunity to get to step into a world that was so well defined with and share some of that spotlight with a character that was so beloved. Melissa Hutchinson, who plays Clem, who was basically the heart and soul of that whole series. Um, and it's cool the way Telltale was telling their stories, which was with multiple branches of the same scene and the same, so you get to explore many different versions of a reality that you get to step into. So I love that game. I love that series. The fans in particular are super dedicated and passionate, and that project is always really special to me. It was also one of the first projects where I kind of really got to take a central or lead role, so for that reason as well, it was pretty pivotal.
Well, I'm glad it was a good one. But yeah, look, you're blowing up. We're lucky to have caught you so early on. 5 10 years from now, you're going to be the biggest guy around.
Yeah,
So
we'll do another one.
if
You'll be
people,
playing the
if
real
people,
Captain America, man.
I
Guarantee it.
can
You'll
see
be
it.
there.
I can see it. Actually, I think you could have done the Wyatt Russell one. You got a bit of the script going on.
Oh, thanks, man.
There you go.
I would have been happy to.
So I suppose before you head on, if people want to check you out, where can they find you?
Sure. My Instagram and my Twitter are both the same, albeit not super interesting, but they're both just at Jeff Shine. So nice and simple. But yeah, man, let's do this again, huh?
There
Oh,
you go.
absolutely.
Looking forward to your next project. All right. So to anyone who got this far, fair play to you. Good luck. Take it handy, and bye bye.